wouldn't it be cool if you could work significantly fewer hours but make vastly more money? Well, to make significant wealth, you need an asset, something outside of yourself, that generates a financial return, like a business. And one of the most profitable business models out there is a SaaS, or a software as a service. Essentially, this just means building an app that people pay you to use on a monthly or annual basis. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to pretty much blow up your current job or service-based business by building a SaaS application. Even if you don't know how to code, and even if you don't have tens of thousands of dollars to invest in building a custom app. Now, we're going to talk a lot about how to transition from being an agency or a service-based business model into running a SaaS business model, or how to do both at the same time. But if you don't currently run your own business, stick around because we're also going to talk about how to transition from being an employee into becoming a SaaS business owner. All right, let's jump in. But first, we're going to talk through some stats because there are some incredibly eye-opening numbers that are going to help you understand whether this is the right path for you to pursue. All right, let's start with the good stuff, profit margins. I'm over on agencyanalytics.com, and they say, as a rule of thumb, profit margins in the single digits are probably too low to run a viable business. Anything above 20% means you're doing great. So that means if you are running an agency or a service-based business and your profit margins are around 15%, that's pretty good in terms of the overall average. But I'm now over on baremetrics.com, which says that research indicates the median gross margin for SaaS companies is around 73%. And in fact, most experts suggest aiming for 80% as a really good goal. Let's do some really quick math here. So let's say we have an agency and a SaaS company, and they both make $1 million in revenue per year. Now, with the agency that makes 15 to 20% profit margins, they're only keeping $150,000 to $200,000 in profit of that $1 million. But the SaaS company, on the other hand, with 75 to 80% profit margins, is taking home $750,000 to $800,000 after expenses. Which one sounds better to you? The profit margins aren't the only benefit though. Let's talk about scaling each of those business models. With an agency or a service-based business, your startup costs are generally going to be lower. In fact, a lot of them start out as individual freelancers. That might be the situation you're in right now. And so startup costs are usually pretty low, but the scale up costs are different. Those are generally really high because as an agency, you're really running a people business. In order to serve more clients and customers, you need to have more employees to do that work, and wages make up a huge expense for agencies. Now, with a SaaS model, you kind of flip that. Generally, your investment in starting up is going to be a lot higher because you have to actually spend the money to build the product, though we are going to talk about how to offset that by using no-code tools. But the scale-up costs are lower because a SaaS product is a one-to-many model, meaning you can have one product that serves many, many people. So as you scale up in terms of users and customers, you don't have to scale up your volume of employees at nearly the same rate. So the profit margins and the scalability are both really positive benefits of running a SaaS business, but there's one other factor that's kind of like the icing on the cake, and that is the sellability. It's so much easier to sell a SaaS product than it is to sell an agency because with an agency or a service-based business, it's very much tied to you. We talked about how it's really like a people business. But with a SaaS application, you have a product on your hands. That means it's not tied to one person and is a lot easier to sell because of it. Now, hey, before we go any further, if you already know you want to build a SaaS app and you want to use no-code tools, this video is definitely going to help you, so stay here, but I want you to go ahead and bookmark another video. If you head over to coachingnocodeapps.com/workshop, you're going to be able to sign up for a free extended training on how to take your idea that you have and essentially just turn it into your own custom app that you personally build. So continue with this video, but bookmark that one and head there next. Okay, so we've kind of covered the basics of running a SaaS business, especially when compared to running an agency or a service-based business. And if you're an employee within a business, it's probably pretty easy for you to see the benefits there too. But now we're going to talk about 3 scenarios where if you are in any of these 3 situations, you are pretty much primed to be able to more seamlessly transition into running a SaaS business. So scenario number 1 is what I like to describe as the agency owner who is adding a software arm to their business. So if you run an agency or you're a service provider, you work with clients to take them through some sort of process in order to achieve an end result or an outcome. So creating a software arm for your business would essentially mean taking some part of your process and creating an app that automates that, and then selling that app separately from your services. One of the really cool parts about this is that you might have a segment of your overall market that isn't necessarily interested in your full-blown service offering. Maybe they're not looking for that higher ticket offer, but they do still need the type of help that you offer in some way, shape, or form. Maybe they're a little bit more DIY when it comes to your particular niche, and a part of your service that's automated and sold as a lower priced monthly recurring subscription, for example, might just be perfect for them. If this seems to fit you, then you already have a pretty big leg up when it comes to selling a SaaS product. Number 1, you already understand the process. You understand the value it provides. You have the validation. You probably work with it every single day. That means it's going to be easier for you to build because you already know the scope, and you're going to be reducing your risk because you already have a decent level of validation. Plus, because you probably already handle this process manually with your clients, you can create kind of a really slimmed down version of the product that you still partially handle manually for your very first users. And by doing that, you can launch really early, but then give yourself time to transition from some partial manual components to fully automating it. And the benefit to doing that is because you still run your agency or service-based business, you can reduce a lot of the pressure of shifting your focus. Sometimes when you shift your focus, it means other components of the business are ignored, and that can create a lot of pressure. This can kind of regulate that for you. And maybe the best part of all is that you already have a market presence for this solution. You're just taking a piece of it and wrapping it up differently. Okay, let's jump to scenario number 2, which is the agency or service-based business that is completely transitioning into a SaaS-based business. So you're not adding on that software arm and creating a new part of your business. You are completely trading one for the other. Now, this one's really cool, and I actually see a lot of our own clients falling into this category. But this is essentially when you take your own internal business bottlenecks that you experience as a service provider, and you create a custom app that solves those bottlenecks, and then you wrap that up into a SaaS product and you sell it to other businesses just like yours. So let me kind of paint the picture of this situation to help you see if you fall in it. But as a service provider, if you are currently paying for other software or apps to run some of your internal processes, but maybe they're way too expensive because they are really geared toward enterprise level companies, or because they're not really specific to your niche, you're just compromising a lot, or more likely, both of those things are happening at the same time, then this is probably a scenario in which you will fall into. So again, you already have a pretty decent base level of validation, and chances are, if the current solutions out there are falling short for you, then the same is probably happening for other companies like yours. So some of the benefits to this type of transition are, number 1, You are your own default beta user. That means you can build the first version of your product and you can launch it within your own company and you can test it as your own user in a very low pressure environment that you have complete control over. And you can get all of that right on your own before you bring on those external companies. So this really just enables you to have a low pressure launch, which is a pretty big deal. On top of that, because you're going to be solving your own business problems, it's going to be pretty straightforward for you to create messaging around this product and to market it because you deal with the pain points and the frustrations every single day. Plus, you already have a really good understanding of the value this app would provide. I mean, you know how much you are paying for other software or apps that aren't really cutting it for you, or you know how much you're paying in terms of your time. And so that's going to give you an easier time pricing the app. But the real beauty here, in my opinion, is that for as long as you are using this app within your own business, you're just running a healthier business. You're running a more scalable business that's less demanding on your time and resources. And however you want to transition into selling it as a SaaS is really up to you, but there's not really a losing situation in this scenario. All right, now that brings us to scenario number 3, which is where you as an employee are building a SaaS app that handles processes that you currently manage within your role. We've had a number of our own clients build apps for this reason as well. And this is essentially when you are building an app on the side of your existing job and planning to eventually transition into running that app as a business full time. Now, I love seeing people make the jump into entrepreneurship in this way because as an employee, if you are building an app that is directly solving problems that you manage or removing bottlenecks from certain processes that you deal with, I mean, you understand those with a ton of depth because you work with them day in and out. That makes it a lot easier for you to kind of formulate the app idea, understand what needs to be involved, and really what the priorities are. Not only that, but you probably have a pretty good idea of how much these bottlenecks you'll be solving are costing companies in terms of time wasted, money wasted, and that can be a real advantage to you when it comes to selling this. Now, the company you work for could potentially be your first user. This depends on your situation, but we've had some of our own clients do this. And or you could potentially be your own first user just at work on a day-to-day basis, depending on the type of data your app handles. Now, the beauty here is, let's say you don't end up taking this full time. Well, as a fallback, like I said, you could potentially use it just to streamline your own work processes, which in and of itself would be a really big benefit. But you could also expand your own job opportunities and really just your value as an employee because at that point, you will know how to build software. Now, in each of these 3 scenarios, the common thread is that you're building an app that handles processes that you currently work with day in and out. And that gives you an increased odd of reaching product market fit with your app. Now, this is huge because the majority of apps fail because they don't reach product market fit. So by transitioning in this way, you are significantly reducing your risk. Now, in a minute, we're going to talk about how to lower the cost of entry into the SaaS space. But first, let's highlight a few key components. First, if you currently use spreadsheets to handle certain processes or pen and paper, or maybe you're paying way too much for apps, or maybe compromising way too much, or maybe you're just using really old, clunky, and kind of crappy software, you can build a custom app that replaces all that. And second, because you personally work with these processes, you know how to talk about them. You understand the consequences, frustrations, pain points, the time waste, the financial loss, and that makes it easier for you to market and sell the app. And remember, in each of these scenarios, you have easy access to early test users, whether that is you, your existing company, your clients, or maybe even if you have an existing segment of your audience that resonates with what you're doing, but doesn't want your full service package, you can tap into that. But how do you lower the cost of entry into this? Because traditionally, building a SaaS application, that can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, first and foremost, remember that the idea is not to leave your job and then pursue building the app. It's to continue doing the work you're currently doing and to slowly transition over into building, running the app, and therefore reducing your risk, lowering the pressure, and just making it easier on yourself. But the most important factor here will be your use of no-code tools. Our clients, for example, use Bubble to build their apps, many of them being SaaS applications, and this significantly reduces the investment they have to make into their app, because with traditional development agencies, like I said, you could be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to build an app like this. But by using no-code tools, you can cut that out and build the app yourself. You do still have to make a financial investment, make a time investment, but this can actually allow you to enter this space, whereas previously the barriers were way too tall. Beyond just lowering the initial investment though, by building the app yourself, you are giving yourself a ton of control over how to make decisions, what decisions you even want to make, your budgeting, your speed of delivery. And what that means is you have flexibility and you have options. You can decide when, how, and where to invest your time and your money. The control is in your hands, and the returns that can give you over the years are significant. So look, if you want to make the transition into being a SaaS business owner, you can. Even if you don't know how to code, and even if you don't want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars into building out an app. I hope this video was helpful in guiding you through the initial steps. And if it was, then check out the content you're about to see on this screen, because it's going to help you take it even further.